Some tech types or tech amounts can restrict learning or disrupt it, while other types can actually fuel learning or be transformative for the student. And I think we all feel that in our own lives, whether it's with ed tech in the classroom or technology in our homes. Just certain types feel really helpful and useful and transformative, and other types just don't.
Welcome to the Healthy Screen Habits Podcast. I'm Hillary Wilkinson. Whether you're starting your parenting journey with a newborn or looking to connect with your teen on technology, let's learn some new healthy screen habits together. Okay, true confession time. I almost didn't put this episode together today. And the reason is not because of time management, although I can use that to explain many other happenings in my life. The reason is because I have this problem with hoarding precious things. I was the kid who always ate cupcake frosting last, and I'm the person who still has like new socks in my drawer because they're too special to wear. I have many greeting cards that I've purchased, but not yet found the perfect recipient. It's a problem. And I found myself doing that with today's show. As you probably know, if you've listened to any amount of time, my background and passion are in elementary education. So when I started hearing buzz about an organization called everyschool.org, my interest was piqued. And concurrently, I was hearing something called the EdTEch Triangle swirling around the digital wellness arena. Well, lo and behold, they're connected. So I might not be the sharpest pencil in the box, but I get there eventually. And this matched perfectly with this season's theme of taking action and getting involved. So today, I'm thrilled to fill in these gaps and introduce the co-founder and executive director of everyschool.org. She's also the co-author of the EdTEch Triangle, and we're going to take a deeper dive into that. She has a background in teaching as well as photography, and she is truly someone who has put plans into action. I'm really very honored to welcome Blythe Winslow.
Oh, thank you, Hillary. That was a great introduction. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm happy to talk about this subject with you.
Well, thank you. As I admit, I almost it took me a while to put this episode out because I only admitted part of the reason. My first part is the hoarding of precious things, but the second part is because I really I feel this episode is so important. I want it to have great impact. And in thinking about the EdTech Triangle, I was trying to time it, and I'm like almost wondering, oh gosh, should it be shared in the fall when the school year's ramping up, or now that it's winding down? But then I kind of put my teacher hat back on and thought okay, no, summer is a really good time of reflection for educators. Yes. And my hope is that perhaps this is going to bring about some some of that contemplative reflection about teaching in the classroom and tech use in the classroom.
I think that's great. And I agree with you. I think teachers are overloaded, and I think there's so much going on, and the summer is a great time to, reevaluate what's going on and make new plans for the future.
Yeah. So let's reflect a little bit on how you got to this point. Can you talk about creating everyschool.org and what were the drivers behind it?
Sure. Well, I think like so many things that are positive, I think it really was born from a lot of kind of challenge and strife. So I have two girls, their ages 10 and 13. And back when they were around 6 and 8 years old, keep in mind that my oldest daughter was born in 2009. So that was 1 year before the iPad was invented, right? And as we all know, and if you're kind of in this set of generation of parents, you really know that we're guinea pigs with kids in tech. And we really don't know what we're doing all the time. We're trying to do our best. But at that time, when my kids were 6 and 8, I was kind of letting them use my phone to play games. wink, wink, right? Like, and
Mhm.
they didn't have devices, they didn't have an iPad. And what happened was they really became so compelled. I mean, in parentheses, like crazy about my phone. And I thought it's not that big of a deal because it's my phone. I'm still using it. I'm just giving it to them. But one morning, my youngest daughter, who is 6, came into my room at 6 in the morning. And, her hair was all messy. And she was just like, I just want your phone. Just give me your phone. And I couldn't take it. I was just like, look, this doesn't feel right. I can't do this. We're going to go on a summer like screen break, no phone for I had let them watch a little bit of TV, but other than that, no phone, no games. And it was a great summer, of course, right? It was the best. And I also read a book called Glow Kids by Nicholas Cardaris at that time. And I do have a background in teaching. I used to teach English at the University of Cincinnati. And at that time, but I was a family photographer, so I'm kind of artsy too. And I do know a lot about technology. So I have this interest in technology. And I just kept reading more and more about the impact of technology on kids. And it was scary to me. And so I decided to kind of slow my roll, right, on integrating tech in my own family. And then came August to my third grade, my third grade daughter's like parent information night. And they were rolling out these iPads. And they had been rolled out for a while because I'm lucky enough to live in a district that does have funds. And they had been one-to-one, I think, since 2012. If you can believe that. That was a very early like
Yeah,
adoption of
that's an
technology.
early. Yeah.
So yeah, so the focus of the night seemed to be the iPad. And I was really concerned because I thought, oh my gosh, like I just got this under control in my own house. I didn't even want my kids to really have devices yet. But my daughter seemed super excited about using the iPad like all the time in school. So I decided to go on this just investigation. Like, what's really going on? Maybe it's not so bad. Like, no one wants to like judge their teacher. Teachers are already judged enough. And I didn't want to be that parent who was just alarmed for no reason. So I started talking to other parents. I talked to administrators. And what I found out was administrators are in a similar position to parents right now, and that here's this thing called technology. It feels really exciting and fun, and it feels like a solution to so many things, but there wasn't really a plan for how to adopt it in an effective way. And there definitely wasn't a research-based framework for best practices. It was just kind of like, maybe we'll use this app, maybe we'll use that app. And in fact, a lot of the time the kids were getting to choose when to use it. Like maybe there would be stations in my third graders class. So you can rotate, and one of the stations was an iPad, and you can do this game, this learning game or that learning game. So it seemed really haphazard. So actually, a group of parents got concerned. We were concerned about certain other types of tech use, like using an iPad at recess time.
Mm.
If it was raining outside, the kids could stay inside and just play games on the iPad instead of kind of interacting or doing other things inside. So I think a lot of parents got concerned, and that's where the challenges arose. And so there became a local group, pretty much headed up by me, um, to change the way technology was used in our school district, or at least start a conversation about what we kind of wanted based on the things that we were reading about, because we really did do like a deep research dive. So that was kind of the local movement in my school district in 2018, and we made some changes. We were able to kind of remove iPad recess time, remove the iPad as a reward if you finished your work. Sometimes kindergartners were given the option to like do this worksheet, and then if you finish, you can play the iPad, which felt problematic. So, and then we also helped our district create a district tech plan because they didn't have a plan for how they were going to use technology. So all that was good, but it kind of ended. It felt like a negative cycle because again, it's hard to tell teachers and to not necessarily what to do, but it's hard to say, hey, I don't feel like this feels right. Can we talk about it? And
Right.
so that's when my business partner and I, Amy Tyson, who knows a lot about child development, she's a child and adolescent therapist. She was for 10 years before she had kids and started every school with me. But she said, you know what, let's do this. Let's start every school. And it began really with the EdTech Triangle. This
Okay.
concept, which is a model that really synthesizes a bunch of ed tech research about
Okay.
what types of technology work and
Yeah,
what,
hang on, Blythe.
yeah.
Before we get into the EdTech triangle, can we take just a minute to define what is EdTech and like what are the pros and cons?
So ed tech really is any type of tool or practice that furthers learning in the classroom that involves technology. That might be something like computational thinking, which is an underpinning of coding. That might be something like using a digital image to show a child a picture of a different country or what's happening in a different part of the world.
Mhm.
Or that might be something like using an electronic text instead of a printed text. But basically, what we mainly think about when we think about educational technology is this use of a screen. So yes, ed tech does include things like robotics, which might not include a screen or it might include a screen. But most of the way that we see ed tech in our kids' schools is through an iPad or a computer.
Okay, so we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, let's talk more about the EdTech triangle as well as the parent groups that are every school's amplifiers and how to get involved there. Special thanks to the Doctors Petty, Laura Hoffman, and Danielle Waters for their financial support of healthy screen habits. It allows us to continue our mission of educating and empowering families to create their healthiest screen habits. The mission of everyschool.org is to have happier, healthier, smarter school communities through digital wellness. And the beauty of this mission statement is that it's so understandable and it's so impressive to me that it's easy to be understood when I know that one of the founding tenets of the organization is that all information is backed by research. So this translation of research talk to everyday words is really impressive because that's not an easy task always. And before the break, we talked about ed tech. Let's dive into the ed tech triangle. Blythe, can you describe this amazing tool?
Yes. So the EdTech triangle it's supposed to be simple, and I believe it is, but it's an inverted triangle, and it's basically a model that is a synthesis of a bunch of research on what EdTech tools are transformative for learning and well-being in the classroom, and what EdTech tools or practices can be restrictive or disruptive. Because what we really know when we look at the bulk of EdTech research is that we can see that technology in the classroom is not a neutral learning tool. Some tech types or tech amounts can restrict learning or disrupt it. And while other types can actually fuel learning or be transformative for the student. And I think we all feel that in our own lives, right, Hillary? Whether it's with ed tech in the classroom or technology in our homes, just certain types feel really helpful and useful and transformative, and other types just don't.
Yeah, it's like cotton candy or
Yes. And so what teachers really haven't had yet, I don't think, is they haven't had a guide to figure out like what does this research on ed tech show? Because they're busy with other things, right? They're not ed tech researchers. And when I say ed tech research, I'm talking about research from the fields of psychology, child development, pedagogy, which is teaching and learning. So it's a lot of different things, and even research on physical health, right? So teachers honestly do not have the time, nor should they be required to take all of that research and figure out, okay, what app am I going to use, or what platform should I use today? I believe that they can figure out from their classroom what feels right, but it might actually not be what the research is showing works. So if you give teachers this model, I believe it can help them figure out what tech to integrate and what tech to trash.
Okay. So it's just kind of when I saw the EdTech triangle, like you said, it's an inverted triangle. So I think everybody kind of goes to like food pyramid type stuff.
Yes.
And so it's a little bit analogous, would you say?
It is. It is. It's just like that. And it's similar to this idea of nutrition, right? What types of technology kind of work and are good for you, and what types don't.
Yeah.
There's four categories. The top category is the best, which is transformative, and that's any type of technology that produces a unique outcome or develops a high level skill, which is important when you think about it, right? It's like technology is really neat and it is super cool. And if we give it, and what the research tells us is if we use it in that high way, we use it to teach robotics or coding, computer animation, website design, which are all tech types under that category, it truly can transform the learning process. So, in other words, if we treat tech as its own subject, the research shows it can be really powerful, especially for kids with special needs. There are amazing uses of technology in the classroom for those kids. But when we look at the other categories, which the next category is supportive, that's any type of technology that supports learning in helpful ways. And then there's a restrictive category, which certain types of technology can restrict learning outcomes. And then the bottom category is the disruptive category, which disrupts learning or breeds habitual use. So those are the types of technology that we want to avoid using in the classroom. And that would include things like any platform that exposes students to bullying or inappropriate content, or even unrestricted access to cell phones during school hours. So research shows that there really is a big impact on kids' academic success and emotional well-being when they're just allowed to use their cell phones in school in any way at any time, which does happen in some schools.
Yeah.
So those are the few tech types, but ultimately it's just really a filter. It's a way for teachers to quickly see, okay, this is what the research says is going to work for me in my classroom, and this is what the research says might not.
Right. And as a teacher, you're given so much to cover every day, such a compressed time zone, which only gets, I mean, increasingly more compressed as you go up in grade. You know, you start your elementary school years and you've got the whole day. And then, I mean, it gets broken up. But by the time you're hitting the high school years, you've got, 50 minutes that you've got to get through this. So I think teachers are very aware that they need to make each minute count. So I think this
That's
is
true.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true. And we don't really want to be, we also really don't want to send the wrong message about using an iPad or a computer in school. We don't want it to be filler, right? It should be treated as kind of the complex tool that it is. For
Right.
example, one of the most passionate things I'm excited about on the EdTech Triangle, and I really care about, is if we look at the restrictive category, because I was an English major and I love reading. And when we look at electronic text versus printed text, we can see that's one kind of like area that I want to kind of pop out of the triangle. And we can see that the research is so overwhelming that if you take, for example, like a fourth grader and you have them read a text on an iPad, and then you have them read a text in print, the outcomes will be so much better with the printed text. They will retain more, they will comprehend more, they will even enjoy reading more, and they will test higher. And then they can also write more in an essay about what they read. So it's wild to see just that one small twist. So if a teacher knows about that research, they can say, okay, since we have printed text, we can use them when we have them. Maybe if there's a special text that's only digital, then we can use that then. But oftentimes I do see in K through 12 education that teachers are giving students the option to read a text either digitally or in print, or maybe they're just only assigning digital texts, and that's going to have negative learning outcomes.
Mm, I think that that information is so important, particularly as we move into summer months. I mean, this is something, so you go, oh, okay, it's the EdTech Triangle. Oh, this is all about classroom use, but actually it's not, because I mean, every day in childhood is a learning opportunity, right? And I
That's the
think,
scary part.
no pressure, no pressure,
Yeah.
parents. But I think also when people are traveling, the tendency is to go, oh, this is so great. We can just take the Kindle or we can just take the iPad instead of, stopping by the library and getting a bag of books.
Yeah.
But you're making the point that the bag of books is actually like going to mentally feed them more.
It does. And we don't really know why. The research is interesting. We kind of know why. And basically it has to do with our ability to touch the pages and turn the pages and have our brains kind of think and
Mhm.
our brains kind of think and remember sometimes in a linear way. So
Mhm.
when we can touch things, it helps us remember things and it helps us connect to them a little bit. But I will say the good news is that the research on audiobooks is pretty positive.
Mm.
So there are similar positive outcomes with an audiobook as with a printed book. So if you want to, use an audiobook on vacation for a road trip, I think that's a great use of technology.
Yeah, yeah. And even almost better if you listen to it all together in the car, because then it becomes a shared experience.
Yes,
And
shared
then,
experiences do make a difference.
yes, and it can be something that you refer to. And it's, yeah, I think that anytime you can share experiences on tech, that
Mm-hmm,
that is important as well.
definitely.
Yeah, and one of the strengths, so taking away from the or stepping away, I should say, from the ed tech triangle, one of the strengths of every school, if I'm correct in understanding, is the use of parent groups. And can you explain what these are?
Yes. So every school really began focus on educational technology and kind of getting this message about the EdTech Triangle to administrators and teachers. However, parents are really such a large part of course, like school culture, and they can influence their kids so much when it comes to technology. And so many of them really don't know what to do with parenting their kids in the digital age. They're confused about when to get their kids a cell phone or how much screen time they should get. So we created this thing called Parents of Every School Groups last year in 2022. And what we do at every school is we give parents a really simple framework for creating a school-centered group. It's really a support group that helps parents just connect about what's going on with technology in their homes and crowdsource solutions to common problems. So, and I think administrators and teachers would love this because the idea is that you're kind of raising awareness about tech issues and raising the bar about like how well you can kind of perform. You can perform so much better as a parent when you crowdsource and you talk to other parents. And I
Mhm.
think so many teachers and administrators are really like flustered with home tech use. There might be something that happens at home. Maybe it's a text thread or some bullying on a social media site that kind of bleeds into the school day. And administrators are tired of that. And so if we can kind of let parents embrace digital wellness through a group like this, I think it's going to make the entire school culture healthier.
Yeah. And just can you talk about how it's set up so that people, I mean, if I heard that, even though like this is my shtick, I might feel a little overwhelmed and thinking, oh gosh, do I have to come up with like a monthly curriculum or do I have to come up with discussion points? So can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So it's super easy. So if you are interested in this topic of kind of starting a support group around this digital wellness in your school community, you can go to everyschool.org, and we kind of lay out a very simple plan for how to do that and a meeting structure as well. So the meeting structure is really simple. It's just sharing problems around a theme, and then sharing solutions around a theme. And it's supposed to be very non-judgmental. So the leader of the group isn't pushing a certain plan about how to use technology in everyone's homes. It's just sharing and learning through that sharing. And some of the themes are very simple, like one theme will be social media, and we provide discussion questions on social media, or another theme might be cell phones. One of my favorite themes is sleepovers and play dates, because parents are sometimes really concerned about, okay, what's going to happen on an iPad when my kid's at a sleepover. I don't know what's going on with that iPad. I don't know if it's protected. How do I bring that up? Or should I bring that up with the parents? So it's really hard to figure out how to navigate tech in our own homes. It's even harder to figure out how to talk to other parents about what goes on in their home when your child is there.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love this. And I think it's really putting the roots in the grassroots. You're really creating a foundation for a school community to grow in their own tech awareness and health and digital balance. So a very, very healthy screen habit indeed.
Yes, I'm excited. Yeah, we have 22 groups so far in about 19 different states. And the group leaders seem super excited and engaged. So I would love for there to be in 2023 at least 50 or more groups. And then it's amazing to see what can happen when parents kind of come together around this issue of digital wellness.
Yeah. So as like I said, as we're going into these summer months, it's a good time for maybe parents to be thinking about, what do I want next school year to look like? What's the impact that I can have in my community? Because
Definitely.
you're really setting up the basis, even in the elementary school years, you're setting the basis of the path forward of your child's digital health with learning with that.
Definitely. I feel like elementary school is the perfect place to start this, because sometimes, as I'm a parent of a junior high student, and I can already feel myself getting more jaded around this issue, right? And it's better to get ahead of an issue like digital wellness and figure out what your plan is, and kind of even just know what other parents in your community think about it. Because sometimes we don't even know what's going on in other people's homes. So we don't even know what the problems could be.
Exactly. And the other thing I did look in, I cheated a little bit, spoiler alert, I cheated and looked at your parent groups, and you do offer this kind of like online community for support as well,
Mhm.
right?
We
So
do have we do have a Facebook group, and I wouldn't say it's super active, not ironically, because a lot of the people who are interested in starting a group on digital wellness,
not big Facebook.
yeah, there's not a big Facebook fan, but
Yeah.
we do have a very active email chain, so that whenever a leader has a question about how to lead their group, he or she will email that chain, and then everybody can crowdsource through that. So that's private, but it's very useful.
Okay.
And I'm happy to say that we do have one male leader, which is nice. I say he or she because we just had our first man sign up to lead a group in Florida. So that's kind of neat, because oftentimes this is like led by women.
Yeah. No, I am well aware in trying to connect with guests for the podcast.
It's an
Yeah.
interesting thing.
Yeah, exactly. So all of this is so well designed and thought out. And when we come back, I can't wait to hear Blythe's healthy screen habit. On episode 4 of season 7, I introduced Janine Mouchwar from Janine Mouchwar Coaching. She helps make parenting teens and their tech easier. Janine believes that the more we connect with our teens on technology, the greater our influence will be when they are making choices online. As a listener of the Healthy Screen Habits podcast, Janine wants to give you a free link to her masterclass. class, How to Talk So Your Teen is Listening. Get your free link by going to healthyscreenhabits.org, click the podcast button, and scroll down to find episode 4 of season 7. That's Janine Mouchwar, and the title of that episode is Coaching and Connecting Parents and Teens. Scroll down through the show notes, you'll find your free link there. My guest today is Blythe Winslow, the co-founder of everyschool.org. I mentioned earlier, Blythe has a background in education and photography. So now I have to ask, where's your favorite place to take pictures?
Oh, my favorite place. I think it's just in my home of my kids, of course, and my pets. I have a cat and a dog and my husband. So I just like capturing those everyday moments.
Yeah. Well, that's neat. And it's neat that you have the talent and the ability to do so.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, so Blythe, now is the time I ask you for a healthy screen habit. And this is a tip or takeaway that our listeners can put into practice in their own homes. Do you have a healthy screen habit you can share with us?
I do, and it's not specific, so I apologize. But I truly believe that so many people are unsure or unclear about how they feel about technology, and they need to really reflect and trust their gut. So every school does a workshop called the Happy Digital Parent. And in that workshop, we ask parents to write one sentence about what your gut is telling you about the tech culture in your family. So I would say write that sentence, and then from that sentence, which is a great instinct, you can create a better plan for how to move forward, because it's really different for everyone. And that's something that we should accept.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And it's interesting because the whole trusting your gut is what led you to even create this whole organization.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So a link to everyschool.org, as well as a complete transcript of this conversation, can be found in today's episode show notes. You get there by going to healthyscreenhabits.org. Click on the podcast button at the top of the page and scroll down to find this episode. Blythe, this has been great. Thank you so much for all you do for every school and every family. Your actions are really making a difference.
Thanks, Hillary. I really appreciate it.
For more information, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Healthy Screen Habits. Make sure to visit our website, healthyscreenhabits.org, where you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or via RSS, so you'll never miss an episode. It's free, it's fun, and you get a healthy new screen habit each week. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you giving us a quick rating. It really does help other people find us and spread the word of healthy screen habits. Or if you'd simply like to tell a friend, we'd love that too. I so appreciate you spending your time with me this week, and I look forward to learning more healthy habits together.